So going into what you were just discussing, is this something that you are currently offering, or are you in the process of working to create something that is, again, as you were saying, a skilled and safe environment?
Yeah, great question. So at the moment, I don't really have the time to be working on it as a component of my coaching at the moment. My daily life right now for the past 4 or 5 months has really been focused around my new company.
Mhm.
So I've kind of put my coaching to the side for now. I have a few clients that I work with that I've kind of pulled along with me, but I promised my business partners and everybody else I would kind of set that work aside for the moment. What I can say is that over the past 5 or 7 years, Jen, I've been writing prolifically. I write all the time. I have, if I turned my screen and showed you my office wall here, here I'll show you really quick. Right, you could see all my big post-it notes go down my wall. Right, so I have lots of thoughts all the time, and I capture them constantly. Um, I will be releasing video courses that I've been working on for a long time. I am writing a book at the moment, and I'll be writing book number two. So as soon as I release book number one, I'll start editing book number two. So a lot of these things, once Caliber kind of makes its way, and depending on what kind of legs it gets and how fast and far it goes, will dictate how quickly I can get back to that previous work that I've done. But I'm really excited about the company that I'm in right now. So it took a lot of thinking. At my age, you have to pick and choose wisely. But Caliber offers me something as a coach that I've never been offered before. And I think a lot of coaches and freedivers, people like Yanni, our friend Yanni, and people who are in the sciences, I connect with people like that almost daily now. And they tell me that what Caliber is doing is somewhat of a holy grail in a lot of ways for people who are interested in respiratory science and biometrics. And I'm one of those people. I think it's a holy grail. That's why I joined the company. And for transparency, I'm an equity owner in Caliber. So everybody can know that I'm a part owner in this. So I am going to say nice things about Caliber, but I'll try to be objective. Um, I'll always have this love of what you mentioned, what I was just talking about before. And it'll always be a big part of my life. I put it on hold for now. But my friends who are interested in this topic matter with me are on standby to kind of reassemble. If for your local community, like for the Florida community, anybody who hears this, if anybody's interested in that type of work, working with people with trauma and so forth, you could absolutely reach out to me. I'm not required to be around to have this work happen. This work happens every day by lots of really great qualified people. And so if I can't help people personally, I have a network of people who know this space and are trained in this space that I could refer to, or I could even help people gain an outline of how to build their own team properly. So they do it in the right ways and give them access to the right learning materials and so forth. So they could do it well and have someone like an advisor potentially. I can't spend a lot of time on it, but I can point people in the right direction, Jen, if needed.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I think there will be quite a bit of interest in it going forward. I think we're learning more and more every day the benefits of not just breathing, but yoga, getting in the right mindset that help you to work through those anxieties. Again, one of the things that even my daughter's psychologist, when she was being initially assessed for her autism and her anxiety, they were reiterating the benefits of what mommy does. And so they are starting to tiptoe into realizing how important that can be. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with all of it in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm sure you and I will see each other hopefully sooner than later in person. I'm looking forward to that. I hope another competition or something comes up where we can bump into each other.
Well,
that'd be really cool.
I will see you in January for sure.
Okay, good.
So
good.
Can you tell us a little bit about Caliber?
Yeah, I absolutely can. So I was starting to flash this little device in front of the screen here for a moment. So let me give you just a quick run through. So for people in the know of what this device looks like, some people recognize this device. That it kind of looks like a CPAP mask, if you've ever heard of CPAP. So people wear masks at night. So some of the original concepts for how we developed this device was based on, CPAP masks, because that has already been accomplished. And what we tried to do is we've created this little electronic module that gets inserted into this mask. And I'll do my partner justice. So my partner, Udi, he has a PhD in physics from MIT, really cool guy, really brilliant guy. And we geek out together every day on trying to make this work better. And he put a lot of effort into this design. So you see that it has a nose portal at the top. So you can see this hole at the top. So it does allow people, anybody who's a nose breather out there, you do and can capture your nose breath in and out of this device. And there is an opening for your mouth, obviously, so you can breathe however you choose to breathe. And inside of this mask, we've actually designed hexagonal shaped holes that are dispersed in a way that actually makes sense to create low volumes and low resistance of volumes when you're breathing across the plane of this mask. So if I put this on softly for a moment, you won't really hear much of a change in my voice except that it's muffled and I'm breathing without resistance. So in order to measure volumes properly, you really have to have a kind of as close to theoretical zero resistance as possible. And other devices like this historically have hoses and tubes and calibration tanks all attached to them. So the real beauty of this for me when I first came on board was I looked at this and said, wait a second, you don't have calibration tanks. How does that work? That was question number one. Question number two is, where's all the equipment? Where's the plumbing? There's no hoses, there's none of that. And I said, if you can answer those two questions, I'll fall in love with you. So, and of course he was able to expound on how he achieved those things. So two cool things. When it comes to respiratory biometrics and capturing data from the breath, you need a couple different things. You need oxygen, you need CO2, you need volume, you need flow, and you need a couple environmentals, humidity, a barometric study, and a couple other things. All of those things, all of the sensors to capture that are in this little module. So if anybody out there has heard of Moore's Law is when over time, technology componentry becomes less expensive and smaller over time. So this is a beauty, this is an exchange of Moore's Law, basically. We've taken big carts that you see in respiratory mounted stuff in hospital walls, and we've made it now 20 grams into a little box. And it contains all the accuracy of medical grade sensors that you would get out of a $50,000 unit that you get in a hospital. Disclaimer, this is only around $399. So quite a differential when it comes to actually being able to capture these points. Utilizing those elements, the O2, CO2, environmentals, and humidity, and all those other things, there's an area of study called breath calorimetry. And breath calorimetry is a mathematical study of how people consume energy or produce energy and its offset byproducts. So when you breathe in, freedivers know this, when you breathe in, O2 is exchanged, it goes in, CO2 comes out. It's much more intricate than that, but I'll leave it simple for now, right? And through the delta exchanges of those two molecules, and to study those two molecules the right way, you can tell what type of fuel people are burning. So I could tell if you're burning fats or carbohydrates. I could study and understand your VO2, your VCO2. So I could tell your efficiency of utilization of oxygen. There's about 30 plus other biometrics that I can compute based on that molecular soup, if you will, that I'm able to grab with this device. Inside of the app, I'll show you really quick. Inside of the app, I can kind of show you, this is the app that we've developed. And we break the app down into two different territories. We break it into respiratory and metabolic. So if you're looking at some of these things look relatively simple. Jen, you'd recognize a lot of these, like breath count, total volume, respiratory exchange rate, which is the ratio delta exchange of CO2 and O2. And there's a variety of these, and I won't get into what all of these mean at the moment. That's explained in detail on my website. But what this does basically is this takes and makes this data accessible. It democratizes the data. So anybody who is like an athlete, I've done VO2 max tests before in my life where you get on a treadmill and you run until you pass out kind of thing, right? And they're seeing how hard you could push until your body can't utilize oxygen anymore as a fuel source. It departs from that. All of that, you had to go to a performance lab. You had to have a coach, a doctor, you had to have access. You were only invited into those scenarios, or you had to pay a couple $1,000s to do that test. So it was not accessible to people like you and me. If you're just going around day to day and wanting this information, you couldn't get it. Now, if you go to a hospital and you're having surgery done, or you're an inpatient and you're connected to a respiratory cart, well, your insurance is paying a portion of the bill that charges $50,000 for the hospital to buy that unit. Now, we've taken this out of those rooms and made it publicly available, democratized it, lowered the price dramatically, maintained the accuracy, and utilizing the cloud and the capabilities that we've done with our app, like a lot of other things like the Aura ring that's out there now and Whoop bracelets and all these other things that are out there, we could offset this data that you create, put it into the cloud, and theoretically we could share it with a practitioner. I could share it with if I was your coach, Jen, you could wear this mask. I could then ask you for permission to view your data. I could view your data from afar and understand what you're doing and how you're doing, and make suggestions on how to improve these metrics for you. So the whole goal over time is going to be, we're starting off, people know us right now as somewhat of a high performance biohacking tool at the moment. The goal of this company really is to get more into the epidemiological aspects of helping people, where it's helping mass populations. So people recovering from COPD, people with asthma who have to drive to an appointment every month to get tested. Our goal is to maybe be super passionate, and maybe this is a dream, but it's our dream, is to have people have one of these devices. And if you're 85 and have COPD, it's pretty tricky to get to the doctors every once in a while. We'd rather have the doctor be able to monitor you 7 days a week whenever they want to at home via a device like this, than have to take a public bus down to a local health clinic and wait for 8 hours to get into a room to breathe for 15 minutes and then send you on your way home. That's really kind of not the type of care that we deserve in this day and age. So hopefully over time, helping athletes and other cool people along the way, we'll get to the point where we're helping massive populations, and more, even beyond that, we're getting tons and tons of data on what breath does throughout the day for people. And as other devices track other things, the glorious singularity moment will be one day when all these biometrics can be placed on a dashboard, and we could start to study deeper correlations or relationships between breath metrics and heart rate variability metrics and other metrics that other devices capture, so we could optimize people. I don't want to make it sound like we're going to take away the humanity of this. Everybody's going to become a robot and be studied just scientifically. That's not our goal. But right now, more good could be done than harm by getting this device out and other similar devices like this out to people, and letting modern medicine help people from afar, which is one of the reasons why people don't get better, because they are reluctant to go to the doctor. They don't like to go to the doctor. They'll miss their appointments, not take their medications. So as you get our heads wrapped around those understandings and make it easier for people to share data and to self-study and become educated, that's when we're going to change things. That's when big changes are going to happen. And that's what we're hoping to be a part of, if that makes sense.
It does. And as you were just discussing that, it brought back memories. In my early 20s, just after having left the military, I actually worked as a mobile respiratory therapist, and I would go to patients that were elderly in rural neighborhoods and in lower income neighborhoods where they did not have the accessibility or the availability to go on a regular basis to be checked by their doctors. And I see in every industry out there, everything is changing. We're becoming more, I don't want to say dependent, but we're reaping the rewards of modern technology. And to have something like this be accessible for patients like that, it's going to be a game changer. So I'm very excited to see. I'm thrilled to hear that you're looking at that as the ultimate vision, that it goes beyond athletes, because I think it will be a game changer in the medical industry. So that's amazing. It gave me chills just to hear you say that. So.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and to be fair to the athletes of the world, look, what's cool about athletes and biohackers in general is they're willing participants in early adoption, right? The biohackers already bought this during our pre-order campaign without even knowing it was going to be built. right? They were so excited about the possibility that this
Right.
would happen that we got hundreds of orders just by saying it was going to be available. So, but it's a means to an end in a lot of ways. Nothing, not I'm not putting a negative message out to my biohacker friends, but those are the people who pave the way. All these athletes and these biohackers are going to help us actually make this product better, because it's actually a harder group of people to serve. They're more demanding. They're going to put more complications on this device. Sedentary COPD, people with COPD aren't going to be trying to climb Mount Everest with this device on their face, right? So if I can make those groups of people happy and this still maintains its accuracy under those extreme conditions, I pretty much can help everybody that's not in the extremes really well. So we're trying to prove ourselves to ourselves that we work in extreme conditions. So when we go out to the masses, we've done the hardest work we'd ever going to face. And we're supremely confident that this will do what we say it does. Because it's still early days. We're just out of pre-launch literally a couple of weeks ago. You know, and we're just starting to take orders and just starting to ship now. And it's been a 2.5-year project for us to get to this place. So we're hoping for a good 3 to 5 year run, if you will, maybe longer, who knows? But yeah, thanks, Jen. Thanks, Jen, for having to sharing the vision of that, because that's what gets me excited every day. Is if you can get to the point where you help massive populations, you really are in need. Then it makes it feel good. You know, there's a reason to wake up every morning because you can change something, and not everybody has an opportunity to change a massive population all the time. So, it being 53, I'm excited to try to get that done at least once in my life, where I could, you know, change a massive group of people. Like that would be a nice legacy if we can do that.
I agree. Let me ask you a couple of questions because I do know that I've had some requests for information. Does Caliber, do you have different sizes right now, or is it a one size fit all? Is it a silicone base? I'm going to have you kind of elaborate on all of these little questions here. And do you have an age limit for it? I know that we have some younger athletes, and I say that like not necessarily Grace's age, but high school athletes and some coaches that are interested in experimenting with it.
Oh, sure. So let me tackle the first one. So at this, the sizing issue comes up all the time. And at this stage of our company, the unit that I'm holding right now, I carefully call this a universal medium at the moment. So it is the only size we have. And looking at the historical use of like CPAP masks and so forth, like typically, you know, established CPAP companies have 5 sizes of masks. And so this is the middle size, if you will. And of course, we made changes to the shape and so forth, but this is generic. So we've been getting asked typically for larger, not smaller at this point, because even my son Torrin, I could put this on his face. And it is silicone. It's an incredibly soft silicone. So if I touch this, it like literally just, it gives instantaneously. So for all the free diving types out there, if you're used to wearing, you know, really delicate or a soft silicone for a nice seal, this is incredibly lightweight. And you can see how I could play with this here. And in fact, when I put this against my face, this free divers and scuba people in general tend to take this on and they ratchet it onto their face to the point where it gets compressed and there's no space left. It's designed to actually rest softly against your face. And when you breathe into it, the silicone actually creates seal. Even with a beard, you see it happen. It creates a gentle seal. So when you breathe, there's a ballooning effect in the silicone. Okay. So it expands the space, if you will, that captures the breath molecule. So it allows it to innervate the electronic module when it's captured. So yes, very soft silicone. All of this, the entire unit minus the E module is, you could throw this in, you know, it's hand washable. So this, you know, you could use for a very long time. We're shipping these right now with 2 of these mask appliances in each box. Okay. So for good or bad, we ship you 2. You like for you and Grace could have one, you could have one, and you can move this module in between the 2 and have your own account. So you could do that. I didn't know how much it costs to make molds for devices like this, especially when you have this. So it's close to 6 figures to make the next size for us. And that's just not making it, that's testing it, right. Changes and iteration changes and so forth. So it's not just like, I can't just whip up a new size like that. I wish it was that true. But it's probably one of the highest things on our roadmap right now, because the beta users that we put it out to, and I'm talking like NBA teams and like, you know, large human beings, they need this to be bigger. So we will hopefully within the next 6 months we'll have a larger size. After that, we'll start working on a smaller size. But in terms of age, there's really no restriction in terms of age of using it. So it doesn't restrict your breathing. It's not a
Right.
respiratory muscular trainer. So to put this on a human being and have them breathe in it, even if they were a baby, I would caution if you do that you don't let them play with it, right? You be there with it. But in general, anybody could put this on their face. The goal is just to capture the molecules coming in and out of their mouth or nose, and it's fully capable of doing that on any human being for the most part. In fact, we joke about what animals we're going to make this for. Next, our horse is going to wear this, or I mean, I know it
Right.
sounds funny, but
They're
we've
athletes
already
as
got
well.
we've already gotten requests for it, kind of thing, to start testing it and so forth. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But the imagination starts to turn once you realize you can collect this type of data. So this has been my personal unit for about 6 months. I use it all the time. Sometimes I wear this 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day while I'm working. There's no signs of wear on this at all. I have really hardcore athletes that are wearing this all the time. And so far, so good. The lifeline on this is really good so far. What we have been working on, though, and you could appreciate this, Jen, there's a variety of types of head straps we can make to mount this on somebody.
Mhm.
This type right here that I use this all day. This is kind of like a baseball cap kind of clamp, if you will. It's very simple for me to come to my office, put this on, put it on my face like this, and it sits in its place. Now, this is not necessarily the most secure strap that I could use. So if I was going to go for a run, I have silicone straps that I could insert in this as well that are a little bit more like swim mask silicone straps. So they're a little bit more secure. They're a little bit more snug, and they don't have as much. They allow a little less flexibility of movements, because if I'm wearing this can flop down and forward a little bit. So we have the ability to make a different shape mechanism with a silicone strap. So you could have a little upward pull and a little backward pull, so it doesn't flop around on your face. If you're leaning over the top bar of a bicycle, it's not falling down off of your face. And we actually add that silicone strapping in the box as well when you get it. So it's kind of up to you to choose the strap of your liking for whatever you're going to do with the device. And we're open to feedback. We get great, cool feedback from people with strap ideas all the time. And we're willing to make all sorts of straps depending on what people think, and so forth. So that's kind of a learn as you go process for us here. So I hope that answers the questions
Absolutely.
at this stage.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. And Sean, it was really a pleasure speaking with you today. You have definitely shared some incredibly valuable information. I'm excited for what your new venture is, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
No, thanks, Jen. Me too. And all the best to your daughter and your family.
Thank you.
And keep it up with your free diving. I can't wait to see you at the next competition. It's going to be awesome.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay. See you.